to another episode of Wealth in Christ podcast show where we inspire the masses to become financially free while building God's kingdom. On the podcast today, we have Ms. Janelle Montgomery. Ms. Janelle Montgomery is a virtual CFO that helps business owners with higher level financial strategy and cash flow management. Today, we're going to be talking about how ways you can save on taxes. So thank you for being here, Ms. Janelle Montgomery.
Yes, it is great to be on Wealth in Christ podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. To start off the podcast, who is Ms. Janelle Montgomery?
Janelle Montgomery is a wife, a mother, and most of all, just someone who has a passion in being in alignment with God's will. So yeah, that is who Janelle Montgomery is. Put in the simplest form, and knowing that he's called me to see others win and empower others financially.
That's really good. So how did you get started in this journey of becoming a CFO?
Yes, so the journey has been amazing. I would say that God has instilled something in me ever since I was 3 years old. I remember going to the grocery store with my mom and really becoming fascinated with the exchange of money and how money was used to buy goods, even at the young age of 3 years old. And so that caused me to really seek ways on how to become more involved and have more of an understanding of how money works. And so for me, I always, ever since I was little, wanted to become involved. And when I saw that I would have an opportunity to become a certified public accountant, I knew that I found something that would fit me. And so as I went through school, got my bachelor's, my master's, and ultimately my CPA, I was working in corporate accounting. And one thing I realized was that there was a piece of me that I wanted to express. And that was whenever I decided to go into the realm of academia and learn to teach others and empower others on how accounting works. And then also at the same time, I realized that even though I was saving these companies that I work for hundreds of thousands of dollars and helping them know how to leverage their money, I had to learn how to do it. And not even learn, but I had to take it and apply it to my life and other small businesses around me.
Wow, that's really great. And I guess, my first question to ask, in regards to that, what were some lessons you learned, being in corporate that you was able to apply to your life and share with other business owners?
Well, I think one of the main things that I learned in corporate was one thing was the fact that the bottom line is definitely important. And there are two different strategies that you need to use in order to see a bigger bottom line. And one of those things is what I call the offensive strategy. Well, the defensive, let's start there. So you have a defensive strategy, and I've worked in this arena to where you are guarding and protecting the money that is coming into your business. And so the defensive strategy is learning how to save your money, keep your money, manage your money. And so we figured out different cost savings on how to reduce expenses so that we can see a bigger bottom line. The second strategy that is used is the offensive strategy. And so you have defense and then you have offense. The offensive strategy is where you are able to find ways to make more money and to increase your top line so that your bottom line could be bigger at the bottom. And so just to know that leverage, one other thing that I used, that was one thing, is that there's two strategies that you have to implement. The second thing that I've learned is that you have to learn how to leverage resources effectively. And that is human resources. That is getting people who are experts and trained to do an area of your business to where you are weak at. And so the thing is that a business is multiple functions operating as one. And so you have to learn how to get everyone on the same page, going towards the same goals. And then, yeah, so those are the two main things that I learned, and I'll stop there and I'll let you ask more questions. So,
That's definitely great. And I never had anyone really explain, like building wealth in those two different ways, where there's an offensive side as well as a defensive side. Which is pretty dope. And it just leads me to ask, as you were learning this in the corporate world and you start to exit, I can just imagine you face some challenges where your fate had to step in, to help you see that light at the end of the tunnel. So how did your fate, going through that process from corporate, learning these strategies, helping your business save money to now doing it for yourself and doing it for other business owners, how were you able to go through that transition with fate?
well, it definitely is a step of faith. I think that we are really raised up to be trained, especially for me. I'll just speak for myself. Growing up, going to school, getting a good job, and learning how to work for a big corporation was like a main goal, right? They pay you well. I mean, you do well. And so you just think, wow, this is like the ultimate goal. And so the thing is that it provides a stable comfort. And so for everyone, I mean, you get paid, but just imagine however much you're getting paid. Think about how much you're making for the company. A lot of companies will want to see a four times, at least the four times the return rate of what they hire their employee for. So if I get hired at, you know, $50,000, they're at least going to say, okay, this is going to save us or make us 200 grand, right? Because it has to be worth the while. They don't hire people just to say, hey, here, we're trying to help your family. They're wanting to see, is it going to help the bottom line or the top line? And so I think that once you learn how to apply it for yourself, there is an act of faith, because now you're doing something to where maybe you just had one particular skill that you had to learn for that area, and maybe your paychecks come very stable, but it took an act of faith for me to really trust in God to say, listen, you have value too. And once you realize that your company, like you yourself and what you offer as far as your company, has something to provide to the world. A lot of people just look at big corporations and say, wow, they're already doing it. But one thing that I notice is that, okay, you have a McDonald's, you have a Burger King, you have a Wendy's. They don't sit there and say, well, there's always a Wendy's there, so I'm not going to come and set up shop. They look for each other. They're like, wait, there's a McDonald's over there and there's not a Burger King. Okay, we setting up shop. So I think that one of the things is that knowing that faith, understanding the gifts and the talents and the resources that God has given you, then you're able to go out and really deploy those gifts. But again, it takes faith, because with the faith, sometimes you launch out, you're kind of scared. Maybe people won't buy your product. Maybe people will buy your product. I mean, it's really just understanding. And once you take that step of faith, here's the thing, sometimes it's not going to be all roses and everything like that, but to understand that God is taking you through a process to see you at a certain journey. Like everything is part of a journey. And so if there weren't any ups and downs, you wouldn't know how good the ups were. You wouldn't know how low the downs were. And so just to know that, I think it is a step of faith every single day, because you don't know what's going to happen the next day. You don't know if, a client may not send a payment, or you don't know if there's there is an unexpected payment that's coming out. You don't know how you're going to meet your cash flows every single month, but to step out in faith, not to say blind faith, but just to know, okay, God, this is what my needs are. This is what I need for my business. And so God is saying, listen, I know you're bringing me your need, but what seed do you have? The Bible says is that he gives seed to the sower. So what are we sowing in this earth? What gifts are we sowing? What talents are we sowing? What skills are we sowing into the earth so that we can just see increase of those around us, and actually an increase in our business as well too.
Oh wow, that was really great. I definitely like the analogy you gave with different franchise fast food restaurants, Wendy's, McDonald's, that oftentimes they look at each other as competition, but that doesn't stop them from putting a new Burger King or McDonald's in that same radius, which is very important that people have that mindset that just because someone else is doing it does not mean there's not room for your own gift. Which makes me to ask you, as you able to understand that, how important was it for you to align, know that this is what God called you to do, to leave corporate, and
Mm.
not just completely just step out? Because oftentimes, especially in this day and age, there's a lot of like, I want to become an entrepreneur because of this lifestyle, and no one really like they downplay the 9 to 5 or working for somebody. So how important was it for you to understand this is what God had called me for?
Ooh, that is a great question. I would say that everyone has a process, everyone has a purpose to fulfill. Um, I I know that, 9 to 5 can definitely be downplayed, but here's the thing, like, I believe wealth belongs in the hands of a Christian, of a believer. Wealth belongs in the hand because guess what? We don't only think about ourselves. Like I know as a believer, there's a scripture in Proverbs that says, "He who withholds, right? He who withholds his corn, his harvest, you know, he who withholds it, cursed is he, but he who sells it, he who is giving, he who is able to bless others." And then also in that script, in that passage, it said, he who is able to sell the harvest, the wheat that he has, is going to be blessed. So the thing is that um, it's important for us as believers to know that, like, wealth belongs to us. And I think once we recognize our purpose, then it's going to be even more of a faith journey for us to understand our purpose here on this earth. But once we understand it, we have to understand that it may go beyond our pocketbook, right? See, the thing is that if we if God gives us a dream, or if we think of a dream of ourselves, if it's bigger than us, right? If we don't really have any, if we're not really scared, or if it doesn't really make us not like nervous to where you're just deathly afraid, but to where it's like, whoa, this is bigger than what I can handle, than my strength and what I can do, then we know that that's God, because we know we need his grace to carry us forward.
That's
And
true.
so the thing is that I would say that, how do we know if God has called us? Here's the thing: if you are an entrepreneur, like, just think about where you are right now, and just know that he's not going to bring you this far to only bring you this far. Like, journeys are all about ups, and it's all about learning curves. And the thing is that when God raises us to another level, I know that there's a saying that's called new levels, new devils, but here's what I would say: when there's new levels, there's new learning curves. Sometimes we just got to get past the learning curve. Sometimes we are going through this as stepping stones to get to a particular point in our journey. And so the thing is that, how do we know? Like, we have to know that we have to be in alignment, right? We One of the things also too is to have counsel around you, and you have to be careful what type of counsel that you put around you. If I were to seek counsel to people that work at 9 to 5 and say, what do you think about me starting a business and doing that? Well, I'm probably not going to hear what I need to hear. If I go around entrepreneurs that may have taken the same route or journey, right? You know, okay, hey, I've been in 9 to 5 and I transitioned to working on my own, working for myself right now. Let me tell you what this journey consists of. This is what you'll need to have in place, right? And so the thing is that there is safety in the multitude of counsel. So it's very important that you have wisdom, counsel around you to kind of direct you and guide you into some of those areas. And when you don't have anyone, then you have to know, okay, what is my purpose? And then it's very important for you to know what season you're in. That just because God gives you a seed, and again, that's what happened in our yard. I think there's a tree growing, and I think it wasn't because we planted a seed, but a seed, something as small got planted. So the thing is that God may have given you a word to say, you're going to own a multi-million-dollar company, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen tomorrow. It takes time. And so the thing is that that doesn't mean, okay, go ahead and quit your job right now and jump into it. I don't know. He may have told you that, he may have not, but it's very important that you know that he gives you the seed, but you need to know what stage you are in that process as God is taking you on that journey of entrepreneurship.
Wow, wow, that is pretty good. I like the fact that you mentioned, there's safety having with multiple consoles, having different mentors and people who can guide you. Because oftentimes in this entrepreneurship journey, people feel like they can do everything on their own, they can read as much books as they want, but it's different when you have that mentorship, someone who has done it before you. And you mentioned season, and which makes me realize that in the past 2 years, a lot of people have become entrepreneurs, started business, for whatever reasons. But one thing I'm realizing is that a lot of people don't understand the tax aspect to it. What it means to have a business, the tax liabilities. Can things be write off, or what cannot be write off? So my first question in regards to that is, what are some things that most people overlook when it comes to tax deduction for businesses?
Hmm. Let's talk about what people, yes, what people overlook as far as tax deductions. I feel like here's the thing, the IRS right now is getting ready to ramp up on workers. So let me say this is that the very first thing we need to make sure that we are reporting and that we are not overlooking is the amount of income that comes into our business. So that means that if you're taking payments electronically, you're going to have to report that. So it's very important, first off, to properly report the revenues. And then to answer your question in regards to deductions, the overlooked deductions, here's the thing. The IRS wants to know what is ordinary and necessary to run your business. And so if you run a very specific business, right? Trying to think. Um, Maybe if you run a construction business, right? Having tickets to a concert isn't going to be ordinary necessary for your construction business, right? But maybe buying hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment that operate the construction is going to be something that is ordinary and necessary. So I would say this is that to start there, the overlooking of deductions that I have seen is some of the overlooking and deductions can come from if you do use your car in business, right? They don't log the mileage. They don't record the mileage that they use in order to run the business. And that is something that can give a lot of deduction for your business. Another thing that I see is trainings, education, conferences. If you go to conferences that are related to the field that you're in the business of, then that's important for your business. Then that is something that's a write off. Another thing I see is travel. Travel to those conferences, travel to other clients, seeing clients. That is going to be meaning airfare tickets, right? Ubers, Lyfts. That is, if it's for a business purpose, those are definitely deductions. Another thing that I see is that if you have a home office that is a dedicated space, that is used exclusively for your business, that is something that you are able to deduct. Again, you have to meet the qualifications of that. Another thing that I see, and I can go on and on, so I'm this last one, is the type of entity and structure that your business has. If it is not a proper structure, or if it's not structured right, you can be paying like 5 figures in taxes. Like just right now, I had a client that we had to do an adjustment to the type of entity that they had, the entity structure, and he was able to save a lot of money. I'll just say that he was able to save tons of money, 5 figures, because of the tweak, not the tweak, or the adjustment that we had to do within this entity structure. And so those are some of the deductions that are overlooked, but don't overlook the revenue, don't overlook the income as well too.
That you definitely said a lot, and I definitely want to break this down a little bit more. The first thing that I want to break down, 'cause I watched this video just before this interview, and it was basically this guy was talking about, like with deductions, taking pictures of receipts, anytime you travel. What are some resources that people could use to make it much easier to record these, trips, these mileage, you go out to eat with a business client, so it does not like at the end of the year you're looking for this audit receipts or you're looking. So how can people, be more organized in preparation for the tax season?
Yes, so this is really great. So the thing is that we have technology that is automated, to where you don't even have to do half of the things that you used to have to do, right? Don't go in at the end of the year bringing a whole bucket of receipts and think that your accountant is gonna, they will hate you for it. Let me just start it off right there. You bringing shoe boxes full of receipts and saying, hey, could you figure out what my deductions are going through? No, you will not be liked. They may not even accept you. I wouldn't accept you unless you wanted to pay a very, very, very hefty fee. And I really mean that. I really mean that, because I'm not going to sit there and do it. But if I'm going to hire help, yeah. So let me do this though. There's a few resources that you can have. If you wanted to start off on the free route, you have Wave Accounting app that does bookkeeping for you. It does a lot of things for you. It can send out invoices for you, and it's completely free. It can record the expenses. It's tied to your bank account. Though that's a free resources right there called Wave Accounting, WAVE Accounting. So you can do that on your phone. Another resource it's a small fee resource, but it's called Quickbooks. If you are self-employed, if you don't have like if you don't have a complicated entity structure, you can do QuickBooks Self-Employed. It's a very small fee per month, and it automatically records your mileage. So how does that work? Well, the thing is, the only thing you'll have to do is go back through your trips where you stopped and swipe. I think you swipe one way if it's personal, and you swipe the other way if it's business. So it's tracking your mileage. Where did you go? What was the business purpose? Okay, you went to go eat with a client. Okay, another thing that you can do is within the QuickBooks app. Listen, this is QuickBooks. I can only speak for QuickBooks. You can take a picture of the receipt, but don't just take the picture of the receipt. Put the business purpose down on your receipt. What was the business purpose? Who did you meet with, right? They want to know who, what, when, where, why. Well, they see the what, right? They see the food, they see where, and they have the when. They just want to know who it was with, right? And what it was for. Like, why? Like, why did you meet with them? Okay, to discuss referrals, to discuss business, to discuss something. So those are the things that the only thing you have to do is so you can do it seamless. Like whenever the waitress comes through, brings the ticket, you're writing the tick down. As you have the pen in your hand, you can go ahead and put, okay, let me go ahead and write who I was with and why I was with them. Take the picture in your QuickBooks. Guess what? It's going to record it in QuickBooks. Now, there has to be some back-end things done, but that is in its simplest form, all you have to do. Another thing that's going to be really important is having a separate bank account, not commingling business and personal. have a separate account, a business account that's just solely for your business. So the accountant or whoever you're working with isn't going through your person, isn't going through so many things to try to figure out whether or not it is business or personal. If you go to a store and you buy items, if you go to Amazon, you've got to go ahead and save those receipts, right? You want to save those receipts so you can know what it was for and why. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Wow.
QuickBooks Self-Employed. If you are just running solo, you're doing some type of service, that's going to be a great resource for you, especially for doing mileage and for recording and taking photos of your expenses and evidence.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you for that. I actually never knew about the wave accountant that you mentioned earlier. I never, the first time I heard about it, so thank you for mentioning that to my audience.
Yeah,
And I mean, a lot of you mentioned something when you brought up your client, in terms of saving, how the structure of his entity was, had to be readjusted. And I understand that, having an LLC does not necessarily provide you tax, any tax benefits. If you can correct me if I'm wrong. So my question is it necessary to have an LLC? Because you spoke about chameleon, not mixing personal versus business. And sometimes the reason why people want to have an LLC, when he's starting off is because of the hefty fees they have to pay and get an LLC. So is it necessary to start with LLC, or when should someone look into getting an LLC?
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of be real if that's okay. So I can only speak, well, first of all, any information that I say is only for educational purposes, is not the end all advice. So if you are going to do something, accounting, tax, legal wise, see a professional for all of that. So the thing is, my like my educational advice that I would have, or my educated guess, let me say that my educated opinion on this type of thing is that a lot of people think that their first step is to go ahead, open up an LLC, set up shop. I've done that way. So I've done both ways before, right? I've opened up a couple of businesses. There was one where you go ahead and you set up the LLC, but you end up not really making any sales. You don't even know if the product or service that you're offering is something that's going to be feasible for you to sell. And so the thing is that to say if it's necessary or not necessary, you want to go ahead and talk to a legal person. But I would say in a lot of cases, it won't be necessary until you actually start making money, because I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs. It's like people who go through college and they change their majors 5 or 10 times. Sometimes I see clients that were like, okay, your name of your business doesn't match what you're doing right now. Oh, well, when I started out, I was doing network marketing. Oh, when I started out, I was doing this. I was selling this type of product, and now I'm doing this type of service. And so the thing is that until you start actually making some money, you probably don't want to do an LLC unless again, this is not legal, but I'm just saying, unless you're in a place to where it is highly, you're in a space to where it is highly litigious, you know what I mean? Like people will want to sue you or something like that in that type of field that you go into, right? Like you probably don't want to you probably can't start a contracting company or a plumbing company without certain things in place. And so the thing is that you want to go ahead, just for legal purposes it is important, but at some point you do want an LLC for business credit reasons, right? You want to do it for a lot of other reasons, but a lot of times if you're just starting out and you're just testing different things, if you're in network marketing in itself, you may want to see, okay, how, are we making any money? And once you start making it, then yeah, it will be a good idea for you to have an LLC, because now you have a separate entity, and understanding that you, even if you're starting out, you can open up a separate personal bank account, okay, to go ahead and spend and receive business income. So people do side, I call it side hustles. They go ahead and they do side jobs or something. They may do side contract jobs where they receive that money. Well, guess what? You're in business. You are privy to some deductions because you receive side job income. So even if you are doing a Lyft or you're doing Uber or something like that, right? It may be a good idea to go ahead and have a separate bank account so that you can, you know, um, go ahead and spend money on, car receipts, different things like that, gas, all those things, making sure that you record the mileage, anything spent for your business, you want to go ahead and have it in a separate bank account, whether or not if you have an LLC. So that is where I stand on
No, definitely, I definitely appreciate that. And you mentioned the government has put more money, set aside a bigger budget in terms of auditing people, smaller businesses. Or what are ways people can, prepare themselves, against getting audit? Being in fact, there's about 80,000 IRS agents that are just the budget is set for to investigate small business owners, especially because the past few years, a lot of people became business owners, PPP loans, and all that stuff. So, how can someone, prepare or avoid getting audited?
that. Well, I'm glad that that you mentioned some systems that need to be in place. I would say the first system that needs to be in place is the total separation from business and personal. If I can't stress that enough, business and personal. You get your nails done. That's personal, right? Well, I'm doing it because I'm having my nails done for my business. Well, are you a nail tech? That could pass as advertising, but if you're not, then okay, let's chill on that. Let's not do that because they're going to look at those types of things as, okay, is this business or is this personal? So it really comes in a fine line. If I cannot stress it enough, business and personal monies have to be separated. That doesn't mean you cannot that does not mean that you can't take money out of your business and pay yourself. I'm not saying that. That's a totally different conversation for another day, or even if you ask the question, right? But the thing is that separating business and personal, that is the first system. The second system is making sure that you're recording income. The thing is that they look for is that you can't have a loss in your business like every single year, right? I know a lot of people, let's write everything off. You've got to seek a tax professional that knows what they're talking about as far as helping you get expenses and deductions legally and ethically. And the third thing is to documentation. That's what the IRS is going to be looking at. If they were to start off, hey, what's this? They're looking at documentation. And if you don't have your ducks in a row as far as documentation, then that is not a good system in place. So if anything, have the documentation in place so that if they were to come and question you, you have your documentation, here it is, and that there is no question in regards to your documentation.
Okay, so yeah, so you mentioned something. So oftentimes, especially on Instagram or social media, you hear people talk about writing everything off. And you mentioned that not everything can necessarily be ethical being write off. And I'm wondering if you can go more into details why everything can be necessary a write off or in any business.
Well, the thing is that okay, so I can attack it from different perspectives that I see, and so this is the perspective that I see having a master's and a CPA. Being a CPA is the fact that one, your business is a separate entity from you as an individual or from you as a family. Like it's separate. And the thing is that the IRS is wanting to make sure that you get a fair share of deductions on the business end, but then they know, okay, you can't really double dip. Now, there's a lot of advantages of having your own business and as far as your deductions, but the thing is is that the reason why is because there's a lot of people say, hey, everything can be write-offable, right? Like everything's a write-off. You can write off your whole life. I've heard of the most extravagant things. I've heard of the most extreme things that people have written off. You know, prom dresses and personal parties and different things like that. Like that's really in a fine line. And the thing is that if you're just saying, yeah, I was just doing this for my business, they're going to want to see documentations. Maybe was there a flyer? You know, was this a flyer sponsored by your company? Was this something to market? I mean, did it have a specific purpose? And the reason why is because, again, the IRS uses these two words for your business. Is it ordinary in your business to have this expense? And is it necessary to have this expense in your business? They answer those two questions. And here's the thing. I know one thing. A lot of people are like, hey, I write off all my clothes. It depends on what field you're in. But if it is something that you can use walking down the street or regular clothes, then that is going to come into question. However, something that you're wearing, you have a uniform, that is going to be a write-off because you are wearing your brand company logo, your brand company name. And so going deep into that, if you answer those two questions and you talk with a tax professional, I would say to talk with them about it on all the lines that you want to cross, right? But a good tax professional that doesn't want to cause any issues with audits and different things like that will probably stir you in the direction of making sure that you have it documented and you go through the right proper channels of writing something off. The thing is that sometimes it's not a question of, is this a write-off? Sometimes it's a question of, how can we write this off, right? How can we do it? However, again, it's going to take some tact and some skill, not to avoid just tax avoidance, right? And try to get over, but the fact that you answer those two questions, ordinary, necessary, answer those two questions. And if it answers correctly and you have the right tax professional that is right there to help that, then, you know, help with that question, then you should be on the right page. And so one of the things that they do look at as far as the IRS is if there is an expense that is well over the amount than for somebody who is actually in that field. So just have to, again, just be mindful of that. Just be very mindful of that and make sure that, yeah, that you just go through the proper channels of doing that. So just want to have someone who's a tax expert. So that's the main thing that I'll say, because it's so many facets and so many industries that it just depends on the circumstances situation.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right on that. And one thing I see that you keep on, emphasizing on is having a tax expert or a tax strategist on your team, in regards to your business. And I understand that even me, growing as a growing business, sometimes we look at the cost of, having someone that's a tax expert or tax strategy, and that could be the reasons why we may not necessarily want to go to tax strategy, especially when we're growing. So that leads me to ask, when should people start looking for a tax strategist? That's one question. And the part two to that question, what questions should we ask to know that, the person we're working with will be the best fit? So we don't have situations where you think you're paying for your taxes, but your taxes are not being paid. So if I hope that those two questions make sense.
Right. So just FYI on that, typically for the most part, you need to know the difference of who you're working with. There's a difference between a tax preparer and a tax strategist. So a tax preparer is someone who, they normally set up shop January through May. You go in, you drop off your paperwork, they say, Thank you. Your taxes are prepared. This is how much you owe. This is how much you're getting back. Hey, you may want to try doing this next year. And thank you. Have a good day. I'll see you next year. A tax strategist or a tax planner is someone that is going to walk with you and throughout the year and actually set you up to where you owe the least taxes possible. And so not only um, they will be more about foresight versus hindsight. And so they can see the future before you actually get there. Okay, you're on track. This is how much you're going to owe in taxes. Okay, what cash do we have available to allocate to areas to where you can benefit from the profit, but then also save on taxes? And so it's someone that can actually sort of see in the future for you. The question that you asked was when, right? When do we need a tax professional? The thing is that if you are in business and you are a entrepreneur, and it is a good idea for you to talk and invest into a session with with a tax professional or someone who offers tax tax strategy sessions. And in those tax strategy sessions, they're able to go through your business, see how if you are on track or not, right? They want to see whether or not if you're on track or if you're not. And really, someone, if you can sit down just once a year, maybe having a mid-year check-in, hey, and typically it's not going to be your tax preparer because sometimes they are busy. If they're busy preparing taxes, it's going to be difficult to get them on a strategy call. And so if you want a strategy session, then maybe it's going to be important, then it will be important for you to set up a session with someone who's a tax planner or a tax strategist to help you know what deductions are going to be included. And so when, I would say whenever you have a business. Now, again, there are some free resources that you can look at on what's deductible and not deductible. I am getting ready to put out a training on, whenever you do start your business and what are some things that you need to have intact as you are going through and starting your business. So, because I've had plenty of strategy calls with them, with a lot of people in regards to that, that I think that it is important to have that for the public so that they are not lost out there. Because I know when you're starting out, you're like, okay, I've never taken an accounting class or a tax class. I've done my own taxes on my own W-2 on my 9 to 5. And so how do I, launch into this area? And so that would be my answer to those questions.
No, definitely. I definitely thank you for that. Definitely appreciate you, breaking down, when you should definitely get a tax agent and, we should get it once you have a business and, investing in yourself. I think that's important for people to understand. This is an investment to yourself, thinking long term and not thinking backwards.
Yeah.
Um, which leading to ask, as you as a CFO, how can people stay in touch with you, learn more about the different programs? You mentioned a program that you're coming up with for people to learn the different ways, to save on their taxes. If you can explain
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah. So the way to keep in contact with me, I am on Instagram as Coach Janelle CPA. Janelle is spelled Janelle. So Coach Janelle CPA. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. So the way to stay in contact with me is to go to either one of those sites, see my posts every day. But then another way that you can stay in contact with me is I have a newsletter. And so you can go to my website. It is CoachJanelleCPA.com. You can sign up for my newsletter and you can sign up to get my ebook that is called The 6 Biggest Financial Mistakes You Can Make in Your Company that is costing you tens of thousands of dollars. So I would go ahead, download and get that, and it will automatically set you up to receive newsletters from me. And so that is one way to stay in contact with me. My website, again, is CoachJanelleCPA.com.
And can you tell me more about the program or the course that you mentioned that you're putting together?
Yes,
But
so the course that I am putting together is going to really take the journey of an entrepreneur on financial literacy, right? So a lot of times we didn't get this education throughout school. We're Googling, we're starting off on our entrepreneur journey. We don't know just some basic financial stuff. And so a lot of times I am able to consult with entrepreneurs that may have made a lot of money fast, but they don't have the financial literacy on how to manage and where to put the money. So so the course is really going to lay out just the ABCs, the foundations that you have to have in your business for your personal and business, just to make sure that you have those foundations so that you can use that foundation, have a strong foundation in finances so that you can go far.
oh wow, wow, that's really great. That's really great. And as you're growing your business and you're growing as an entrepreneur, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years. Ooh, yes, that is a great question. I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, I will be a, not to say that my voice isn't, I will be a prominent voice in the financial space. I will be a prominent voice in the financial space because God is wanting his kingdom citizens and ambassadors to be a voice for him. So I see myself there. I see myself in a place to where I am totally financially free. Not only do I help people lead them to financial freedom, but I embody it, right? I embody that. That is not only I'm getting rich in my bank account, but I want to get rich or wealthy in my life account. And to understand what it truly means to where it says, you know, hey, go ahead and prosper even as your soul prospers. What does it mean? It means to have, the Holy Spirit, the joy of the Lord being my strength every single day. It's the peace that surpasses all understanding, is knowing that Christ in me, the hope of glory. Like I am able to continue to have Christ be informed in me, but then even within my business, I'm able to embody that. I'm able to have resources, and not for it to be some type of taboo, right? But for it to just be just a way of life, like to where it's not like, oh no, should Christians be no, that's not even a question, because the purpose that God has put me here is going to be beyond me having money, but it's going to be what I'll be able to do to empower those that come after me, that are here, that are wanting that same freedom so that they can serve this generation.
Wow, 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 wow. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you, what you do and what you accomplish. And that spot saying definitely sounds very exciting. And, being that said, someone who maybe listens to this podcast may still be on the fence on seeing the tax strategies or, learning more about taxes, for whatever reason it may be. What would your word of advice be for such person?
My word of advice, if you are still leery about seeing a tax strategist, is wait for the IRS to come and audit you. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, kind of like playing, but not playing. So my word of advice would be to but the main thing that I would do is there is so much content. I have content out there. I mean, you see my content. I've done 90-day Facebook lives to where I'm straight up just giving game, like I've done on this show. Uh, you heard the deductions. Follow some people that are prominent within the tax strategy space. I'm sure they're going to have content. They're going to have um, content and information that can help you within your business. But again, because you're not paying for a tax strategy session, just know that the way you may interpret something may be different than what your tax professional is saying. So if you are still leery, just follow their content on YouTube, Instagram, or wherever they're at, and just kind of watch them and see how it can apply to your business. The main thing that I would do, because I would work on building your revenue up, building your business up. You can't come see me if you're not making money in your business. It's only whenever you start making money in your business that you can say, let me speak to a tax strategist, because talking to a tax strategist is a tax deduction in itself. So that's the thing that I tell people. Don't try to get your ducks in a row when there's no money to be managed. Yes, I can help you manage your money, but if you're not making any money, you can't manage it. And so the first step is to make the purposes of money. Gotta make money. Second, manage money. And then third, multiply money. Be fruitful with it, right? What else did God even instill for us to just take one seed, plant it, and next thing you know, plant an apple seed. One apple seed can produce a trees that have the fruit and the seeds within an apple, and not just one seed, but multiple seeds. Only God put that system in place. So that's the thing. If anything, find out ways on how to increase your flow, increase your revenue. Once you do that, you're not going to be asking, oh, should I see a tax strategist? You're going to go see a tax strategist because you are making the resources in order for you to invest that type of invest that income so that it can help you save and keep more of your profits. I mean, a tax strategist can help you keep more of your money in your pocket so it doesn't go into the IRS. So the thing is my concept is if I can't save at the level. So basically, here's what I say. I work for you for free. And what that means is that if you invest $5,000 into a tax plan, if I can't save you at least that much to where it's free, then I mean, I would refund the difference. It'd be easy just to go ahead and refund the difference. But in most cases, the level at which you invest, people save 2, 3 more times than the amount that they've invested. So there you go. There's more money in your pocket. So if you're questioning, oh no, should I go see one? Yes, you should. But if you're not in a place to where your business is actually making the money to invest in one, go ahead and just work on building your business. Work on building your business. Look at the free there's power within getting information and getting that information. That's why it's all over the place. So it's okay, no matter what stage you're at, just to be okay. But when it comes to you making money and you don't want most of it to go to the IRS, then you come and speak to me. So that's that.
I want to definitely say thank you, Ms. Janelle Montgomery, for your time. For those who are listening, I hope you guys take these gems that she dropped on this podcast episode and go and apply it. Don't just see it as another podcast guest who comes and just give game and you just store the knowledge. The most important thing is about applying the knowledge. That's where with the strength, the wisdom, that's when you get to go to the next level. That's when you're gonna see growth in your business once you apply this gem that she put in. If you guys don't know, I have a free study guide which can show you how you can get started in the stock market completely for free. You can get it on my website, wealthinchristbrand.com. And stay tuned for next week's episode. And thank you again, Ms. Janelle Montgomery.
And just on that, you're welcome. But just getting into the stock game, that is important because again, you make, you manage, and you can multiply. So he's teaching you how to make it and he's teaching you how to multiply it. So that is a great thing to go ahead and download.
No problem. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And for those who are listening, if you guys haven't, subscribe to us on YouTube, our podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you very much, Ms. Janelle Montgomery.